But right now, I'm going to go ahead and get into this clip. And notice in this clip, he's talking about sanctification. And he says, if you're truly regenerated, and then he points to sanctification as though we don't collectively equally share in Christ Jesus. And this is where people like Paul Washer, they'll put sanctification out on the end of a carrot stick, some future version of yourself that you should see where you're more holy in your flesh. And if you don't see that, then your justification really didn't happen and you're really not saved. So what he does is he tries to negate justification in people's mind by faith by saying you should have this ongoing future progressive sanctification. And if you don't, then you're never truly saved. So a lot of people have drank the Kool-Aid of the doctrine of progressive sanctification, language that Paul the Apostle did not use about sanctification, and they create this legalist mental construct where they try to deny people's justification by holding sanctification out on the end of a carrot stick and say, if you don't have this, then you're not saved. And this will be an example of it. I'll go ahead and play the clip.
In fact, listen to me. One of the greatest evidences that you have truly believed in Christ unto salvation is that God has begun a good work of sanctification in you. He works and works and works to make you holy. Now let me ask you, is that a reality in your life? Young choir behind me, let me ask you a question. You sing beautifully, but can you honestly tell me that your great desire is to be holy? Can you honestly tell me that your great desire is not to be like the world, to not be like what you see here in the West and many other places, but to be like Jesus Christ? Can you tell me that? Because if you cannot, you should be afraid. You should be very afraid.
See, once again, he's trying to stoke a spirit of fear, but God hasn't given us a spirit of fear, but of love, power, and a sound mind. That God hasn't given us a spirit of fear, but he's constantly trying to stoke a spirit of fear. You should be very afraid. You should be terrified. He says that in the other thing I did on John 15. He's constantly psychologically projecting into people that they should be terrified, they should be fearful, they should be afraid. But God hasn't given us a spirit of fear. There's no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear, because fear has to do with punishment, and the one who fears has not been made perfect in love. But it's clips like this that really piss me off, because this demonstrates that he's a cross denier, that the cross has actually made us holy, and you'll see that in other clips that I'm going to play. But you notice that he says one of the greatest evidences that you are regenerated and have been saved, in other words, justified, is that this ongoing progressive sanctification, which again is a legalist mental construct to say that if you don't see this future version of yourself more holy than you do today, which is a self-evaluation, a self-justification in and of itself, if you don't see yourself more holy in the future than you do today, then you're not truly saved. See, we all collectively share sanctification in Christ Jesus. And I can't tell you how many times I quote this to Calvinists, and it just goes in one ear and out the other, that by his own doing you are in Christ Jesus, who became from us from God righteousness, sanctification, redemption, and wisdom, so that just as it is written, let him who boasts boast in the Lord. That we have sanctification in Christ Jesus and not in self, so that if anyone would boast, they would boast in the Lord. So we're freely given sanctification. He that did not spare his own son, but delivered him up for us all, how will he not freely with him give us all things? That he freely gives us all things in Christ Jesus, including sanctification. So by denying our sanctification that has been freely given to us in Christ, they can hold it out at the end of a carrot stick to try to get a person to doubt their justification through faith by saying, if you're truly regenerated, you should see this holiness in your life. If you're really regenerated, you should see this holiness in your life, and itself is a self-evaluating, self-justificating system where someone self-justifies themselves by their own determinations, not according to God's.